Fish swim, dogs bark, and Prime Minister Trudeau spins his yarns. So it's hard to conceive of him saying other than what he claims, that he didn't force anyone to get vaccinated.
All of the scientists and the medical experts and the researchers, not just in Canada, but around the world, understood that vaccination was going to be the way through this. And therefore, while not forcing anyone to get vaccinated, I chose to make sure that all the incentives and all the protections were there to encourage Canadians to get vaccinated. And that's exactly what they did. We got vaccinated to a higher level than just about any other of our peer countries. And that's why we had...
Unfortunately, Mr. Trudeau is precisely the kind of goat who can successfully cling to the narrow ledges that truth has to offer. For him, it's sufficient that the RCMP were not actually ordered to break into people's houses and hold down the unvaccinated occupants while nurses squirted vaccines into their arms. In that narrow sense, he's correct. See, never forced anyone. However, if truth has a spirit, it was absent from the room that day, for what Mr. Trudeau offered the unvaccinated was the same deal you get from the mugger. Give me your wallet or else. Specifically, if you were a civil servant, worked for a federal contractor, or for a federally regulated industry and you didn't give up your wallet.
Well, we're picketing because it's been more than a year since we've had a contract, and we're trying to get a fair wage increase that matches the price of living, or increase in living.
You were done, out of a job, placed on administrative leave without pay, denied your livelihood. And whether he likes it or not, that is forcing people.
But there are far more people who obviously have died due to COVID, died from not getting vaccinated. And the idea that people can fly in the face of science, well, individuals are allowed to make their own choices. There may be all sorts of different reasons why someone is hesitant to get vaccinated. But I make a distinction, and I always have, between someone choosing for personal reasons to choose not to get vaccinated and someone deliberately using misinformation to mislead and scare other people with so-called facts that aren't facts at all.
Private companies took the cue, as they generally do, and started making similar demands. Hospital administrations, desperately short of staff as the emergency rooms filled up, would still rather lay off non-compliant nurses than accept people with medical training who should be relied upon to make good judgments for themselves. BC laid off 2,500 medical staff who wouldn't take the jab, and Alberta laid off more than 1,600. As for dissident doctors, they obviously knew nothing and were persecuted by their professional colleges, which for practical purposes had become enforcement arms for the government. Ask these people whether they felt forced, or those people in some provinces, notably Quebec and briefly New Brunswick, who were denied access to supermarkets if they could not produce a QR card indicating that they were vaccinated. Their option was to pick up essentials in the more expensive dépanneur. The Prime Minister also insulted people who disagreed with him. You were variously antisocial, a bigot, probably a racist, and likewise somebody who didn't treat women very well, or all of the above.
Oui, on va s'en sortir de cette pandémie par la vaccination. Puis on en connaît tous des gens qui sont en train d'hésiter un petit peu. On va continuer d'essayer de les convaincre. Mais il y a aussi des gens qui sont farouchement opposés à la vaccination.
Qui sont extrémistes.
Qui ne croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, souvent racistes aussi. C'est un petit groupe, mais qui prend de la place. Et là, il faut faire un choix en tant que leader, en tant que pays. Est-ce qu'on tolère ces gens-là ou est-ce qu'on dit, ben voyons, la plupart des gens, presque 80% des Québécois ont fait ce qu'il fallait faire, se sont fait vacciner, on veut revenir aux choses qu'on aime faire. C'est pas ces gens-là qui vont nous bloquer. Maintenant, on est dans...
And that apparently is consistent with the Prime Minister's mind with making sure all of the incentives and all of the protections were there to encourage Canadians to get vaccinated. That he subsequently regretted what he said merely speaks to his irresponsible shoot-from-the-lip style that has caused so much embarrassment to himself and irritation to hardworking, decent Canadians. One of the saddest consequences of the COVID years is the much diminished trust that Canadians have for the institutions they depend upon, the healthcare providers, the provincial governments, and federal leadership itself. It's comments like this, by turns deceitful and self-serving, that do it. Heaven forbid we should ever give up on what is a very fine country, this country of ours, Canada, for all the abuses its people have suffered at the hands of this government and the monstrous folly of its financial decisions. It remains an inspiration everywhere to people who want to live a better life. But dear heavens, we must place it in the hands of more honest custodians. This man is unworthy of the office he holds. For the Western Standard, I'm Nigel Hannaford.
Canadian Shooting Sports Association. Without the CSSA, our gun rights would have been taken long ago. These guys are on the front lines helping to draft smart and intelligent firearms regulations and legislation in Canada, and more importantly, educating the public about how we keep guns out of the hands of the wrong people. To become a member, it's absolutely worth every penny. You can become a Western Standard member for just $10 a month or $99 a year for unlimited access.